Hello, I am Amanda Warfield. I am a simplicity-focused content marketing strategist and copywriter, and my mission is to help course creators and online educators make a
Hello,
larger
I
impact
am
with
Amanda
less
Warfield. I am
time.
a simplicity-focused content marketing strategist.
All right, let me mute the live stream into YouTube. Okay, my goal is to help, like I said, course creators, online educators make a larger impact and less time with their marketing so that they can not spend all of their time marketing. And I go live every single Monday, same time, same place here on YouTube at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. However, this week's live is a little different because today is day one of a live challenge, a free live challenge that I am hosting over um, through my website. I'm going to drop the link right now in the chat over on YouTube if you would like to check it out, and I will add it to the description later on if you're watching the replay. But this challenge is called Get More Eyes on Your Sales Page, How to Craft Irresistible Marketing Messaging. And the premise behind this is that a lot of times when we're not seeing the revenue we want to see or the amount of sales we want to see, we think it's an offer problem. But most of the time, it's not an offer problem, it's simply a traffic problem. We don't have enough eyes on our sales page in order to get the conversions that we'd like. So, hence this challenge. I want to help you make it simpler to get people from your marketing, from your social media, your email, your podcast, your blog, whatever it may be, from your content to your sales page. And the best way to do that is by having really strong messaging that people are going to connect with, that your audience is going to connect with. So, this 5-day challenge is all about creating marketing messaging that your audience is going to connect with and that really puts your offer in the best light. And then by the end of it, the goal is that you'll be able to use this new messaging to drive people from your content to your sales page using that new messaging on both your marketing and within your sales page as well. So today is day one of that challenge. If you have not signed up to join us for this challenge, it is not too late. Please go ahead. If you're finding this on day 3, day 4, even, please sign up and join us. All of these lives, I'll be going live every night this week at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 4 p.m. Pacific. And all of these lives will be streamed from Zoom into YouTube. So if you're a part of the challenge, you are welcome to join me on Zoom if you would like. You don't have to. Um, but you're certainly more than welcome. Everyone who is part of this challenge will get that Zoom link, and they have the ability to join me and get some brainstorming, some kind of messaging coaching, essentially, through this challenge. You can come on here on Zoom and we can chat about what it is that we're talking about each day or your messaging in general, and just how you can improve it and make it even more of what your offer really needs. So, that being said, if you're not interested in actually joining the challenge, but you're just curious and want to watch what happens, you can watch us on live, or if you just don't want to show your face, you're more than welcome to also just watch through YouTube as well as I stream the live. Hello, Wendy. And either way, it's going to be a really great challenge. I am so excited to chat about messaging a little bit more and just make messaging something that doesn't feel so mysterious. So, with that being said, hi, Wendy. You're my full attention tonight so far.
That's unfortunate because I didn't do my homework.
That's okay. That's perfect because we can actually just talk about it now.
And I've been
Um,
chasing you all over the internet trying to find where we were doing this.
oh, I'm so did the link in the email not work?
Well, I went to YouTube. I started off in Zoom about 10 minutes ago, and then I saw the link to YouTube, and I'm like, oh, she's just talking in YouTube. So I've been sitting in YouTube watching you talk.
Oh, welcome. Well, okay. Tell me this. Did you look at the email at all, the workbook at all?
I s- I skimmed over it and briefly, and I did listen
Okay.
to your podcast today about messaging. So that's because I've been out of the house all day. So I've been in listening mode all day long.
So there's no judgment. I know that it's hard to find time for these things. Okay, so for those watching the replay or watching through YouTube, like Wendy was, before hopping on here. Day one, well, let me backtrack. When it comes to your marketing messaging, there are 5 questions that you want to be able to answer for your offers, essentially, for any of your messaging. And day one, the first question is all about your audience. But what we tend to hear a lot of times with um, knowing your audience in particular, the common advice is always, where do they like to shop? What magazines do they read? Are there any brands they particularly love? And it's not that this advice is terrible, but I personally always found this really unhelpful when I was trying to figure out messaging. I was like, they probably like to shop at TJ Maxx like every other person out there. Like, I don't know, you know. It didn't really tell me anything that I needed to know as far as how to market my offer, right? The cool, my audience member probably likes to shop at Target. I don't know how that relates to marketing though, because everyone likes to shop at Target, right? It did narrow things down for me. And the magazines question I always thought was funny because I was like, do people actually read magazines anymore? Is that still a thing? But that's a whole other topic. So those are not the questions you want to be asking. What you actually want to ask yourself, and the exercise I have in the workbook for today is for you to think about 2 or 3 of your ideal customers. Now, if you don't know your customers, Wendy, I know that you've had a couple people buy from you that you don't know, which is so exciting. And that's the ideal, right? It's when you're like, I don't know who's buying from me. Um, if you don't know your customers, think of your ideal person. Kind of make up one of those avatars that people say, like, oh, make up a client avatar and write out this whole paragraph about them. Um, but just kind of think about a couple people maybe that you've met in your life that you're like, oh, they would be my ideal audience. They would be the kind of person that I would want to sell to. Um, or it could be a made up person. It could be, um, I don't know if you'd want it to be like a celebrity because how much do we actually really know about them? But I guess depending on what you're selling, that could be for some of you a potential way to do that. But you want to think of 2 to 3 people, made up, real, whatever. And then you want to look at them and you want to try to find what are those common denominators between all of these people that you're working with. And that right there is actually going to be the actual helpful, juicy stuff. And in particular, the things that you want to look at, there's actually a term for this that I didn't know until today. In fact, as I was making the workbook and I was doing some research behind the scenes, but there's actually a term for the things that I want you to think about, which is essentially the lifestyle aspects. What part of their lifestyles overlap? For me, I always really focused in on things like what stage of life they were in or what stage of business they were in. But these are called psychographics. I had no idea, but the psych major thought that was really freaking cool. That there's actually a word for it and it has to do with psychology. Who knew? Crazy. Um, I don't know why I like marketing, makes no sense. But some areas you want to think about those life stages, but also things like values and beliefs. What are things that they hold dear? What are some lifestyle choices that they've made? What's a common denominator there? And that could be anything from, oh, we only eat vegan to, um, we only buy from brands that have our same beliefs. Those could be lifestyle choices that they make. Or yeah, lifestyle choices. Any personality traits that overlap. If there's something where you're like, wow, they're all very introverted, or um, they're all very bubbly, right? Those could be different commonalities. Social, cultural attitudes, aspirations and goals that they have, motivations, things that excite them. Challenges and pain points are a big one. Things that you know that they have in common that they really struggle with. That's a really big one. Attitudes towards money can be one sometimes. Um, the way they make decisions, their shopping preferences, essentially anything that overlaps between these two or three people, three is probably a good number. If it's just two, it could be a coincidence. But if it's three people you've got in mind and they overlap, that's where the good stuff comes in. And that's where you go, oh, my ideal people all do this, or they all think this, or they all believe this. And that's when once you know your audience well in those ways, that's when you can really tailor your messaging to speak directly to them. And that is such a key part of storytelling within your marketing. Because if you know, okay, Wendy, I'm going to make something up for you, but let's say that you know, okay, all of my ideal audience members, all of my ideal customers, they're all pretty extroverted because they're all the ones that typically start their own book clubs and they're the ones pulling all of their friends together. They're all pretty extroverted. I don't know if this is true or not. I'm making this up completely. Um, but that's something you can fall back on with your messaging because then you can talk about, you can get to know and understand extroverts, and you can go, okay, I know extroverts, they love to surround themselves with people. They love nothing more than the noise of a group of people talking as they're, you know, hosting their book club and oh, they're moving from the kitchen to grab more appetizers. And as they're walking in, they're talking to one person and they're hearing all of the noise of everyone else enjoying themselves. And you see how you can unfold a whole story. They're pulling on those things that they really love. You can tell a story in that way when you get to know these things about them. So that's my spiel for the evening. What questions do you have for me? If you don't have any, that's okay too. You're muted.
Sorry, too many windows open here.
It's only
I
Monday.
really, yes, yes. I really don't have any questions at this point. Like I said, I have been gone all day long and I wanted to pop in and listen to everyone else for some inspiration because I listened to your podcast today on messaging, the first one that you
Exciting.
did on messaging.
There's quite a few people
And
watching on YouTube right now.
oh, great. And I don't know if you saw my message earlier, but I actually have to pop out of here in like 10 minutes because I have an event scheduled for my Facebook group, a chat thing. So at 7:30. So just letting you know that. Um, so what questions should I have at this point?
There is no should. If you don't have any, that's great. If you think of more, I will be live every night this week. I guess I'm wondering, let me ask you,
Okay.
do you have people in mind as ideal customers?
I do actually.
Okay.
So I do have about five people that I know personally
Amazing.
that I think of them whenever I write anything. And but then the other characteristics I put with that, of course, people who love books, who love to, talk about books, all that's a given. But then typically probably between the ages of 35 and 65, give or take, however much on either end. Um, Women typically that's with enough disposable money to buy books or
Mhm.
to treat themselves to an outing, a nice outing once a month maybe, whether it's dinner or something, enough money to actually buy books if they want to buy books, and enough disposable time to be able to do that as well. Um, and the people that I have in mind, the five, they vary, like you said. So some of them have very young children. Some of them are retired. So there's and some of them are in between, empty nesters still working full time. So it's quite a variety, but they all have all of these things in common that make books a priority. So does
Yeah.
that help?
Yeah. I think that's such an important thing that you're pointing out there though, because I think a lot of times we can get in this like, oh, well, I have to talk to this specific subgroup. And it's normal for us to have 35 to 60 to have different lifestyle phases, right? They don't all have to be like perfectly lined up. A couple things I'm hearing, and you can say yes or no to this. Experiences are something they value.
Yes. Yes.
Um, because I know with your Zoom, I've got to figure out how to turn this off. I know with what you sell book club kits
Mhm.
that focus specifically on how they can experience the book in the real world, right? So experiences would definitely be something that you would want them to
Yes.
value, not just the readers who can tend to use books as an escape. It's a way to see the world in a different
Mhm.
way. I also, oh, there was one other thing that I thought of when you were talking, and it had to do with towards the beginning. Man, I wish I wrote it down. Um, it's gonna haunt me.
You know how to find me.
Hey, what was it? I feel like it had something to do with income, but not really at all.
Yeah, and I know I touched on income a couple of times, and it doesn't need to be like a lot, just enough to be able to enjoy an experience, whether it's a cup of coffee or whether it's some fancy dinner out, you know. Um,
I know it had led me down like another path in my
yeah.
mind, and I've forgotten. When I think of it, I'll let you know. But that's
Okay.
frustrating because I was like, oh,
All
but
right.
also this thing, different phases of life. I don't know. I'm curious though, as far as values go. Um, oh, I remember. Haha. Okay, it wasn't income at all. You must have said income afterwards. Books. You said they like books, but is there a specific genre of books that they tend to like?
Not necessarily specific genre that they tend to like, but more what they don't like.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
because I I would love to be more of like a fantasy sci-fi reader, but I'm really not. I've tried a couple of times and I think I just haven't found the right one. So I typically don't tend to talk about those.
Mhm.
But I am not adverse to talking about those. I don't really want to have book clubs with that are super spicy.
Mhm.
The readers I have in mind, some of them would be adverse to that. Some of them it wouldn't be adverse, but they wouldn't necessarily want to talk about it. you know. Um, so a lot of yeah, they all I can't even talk, have a certain value system,
Mhm.
and that has nothing to do with like the types of or the genres, but yes, there is a common value system, I think. Did I
Okay.
answer your question or did I
Yeah.
get off
Mhm.
topic?
No, that was perfect,
Oh.
actually. So it's all fiction though, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I know in the past we've done some nonfiction. I've done nonfiction, but the nonfiction I choose is always narrative nonfiction.
Mhm.
It's reads like a story.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, those are other things to think of though, and to add to your list of like, okay, they're not interested in doing spicy books at book club, and whether or not they read them in their own time, it's not something they
Right.
read in a book club. Um, and then mostly fiction interest, because I know there are a lot of people out there who are like, oh, I don't read fiction. Um, and so it would be a different kind of book club. Yeah, I think that was my rabbit hole that I went down was, oh wait, but what kind of books are they reading? I don't understand what my hair is doing today. It's like
Well, welcome to
flipping
the
out like
club.
a 50s housewife. Just
I'm reading down through the areas to think through, and the one thing that always gets me is challenges and pain points.
mm,
Because I mean, it's not like we have a whole lot of problems as people who like to read, and do fun things. Yeah.
okay.
So,
So with that one, we'll kind of dive deeper into what that could look like over the next 4 days.
mhm.
But at just like a base level of things they could have in common, um, maybe, and again, just throwing out ideas, maybe it's that a common challenge they have is taking time for themselves. And this is something they're doing for themselves. I know a lot of women struggle with that. I don't know if that's necessarily your people, but maybe it's something like that where it's not necessarily that they have a problem or a pain point with the books, but the books are helping fulfill, or the book club is helping fulfill a problem or challenge that they have. So you can look at it in that way. Because the book club kit is the answer to, and in this situation, we're just thinking like general pain points and challenges. They don't have to be related in any way, shape, or form. Um, but also as we dive deeper into this week, your kits are the solution, right? They're helping solve whatever the problem is. But in this scenario, when we're talking about our ideal audience, we want to think of things that, yes, have to do with the pain points that we're going to solve for them, but we also just want to, like, what are other commonalities? And maybe it's that they've got enough disposable income, which again, this is still related. But maybe it's that they have enough disposable income for small experiences, but not to travel. Maybe it's maybe they all have I'm trying to think of something that's not related to the books. That's all I can think of. Maybe they all have children in their life in some way, shape, or form, whether they're a parent or a grandparent. Um, and you know, school holidays play into their schedule. And maybe that like is a challenge or a pain point that they have where they're like, oh, it's back to school season and it's busy. And you can use those non-related to your offer challenges and pain points in your messaging throughout the year. Even if you're not necessarily using it in your offer messaging. Did I explain that well?
Maybe they could, they have children or grandchildren in their lives, younger people, multi-generational, and they're looking for ways to spend more time, more quality time with them.
Yeah.
Find
Oh,
common ground, understand each other a little bit better. That's
yeah.
getting really deep. I'm going too deep there.
No, I don't. Maybe not necessarily though. Maybe that is a pain point. I don't know. Something to think about. Um, but yeah, you can use common pain points that they have that aren't related within your messaging in other ways to talk to the offer in some way, shape, or form. Like, oh, it's back to school season and you're really busy, but the book is a great retreat. I don't know. I'm pulling stuff out of thin air.
That makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. Anything else there that trips you up?
Not, no, not off the top of my head. I wish I had had time to think through this more. I found the psychographics very interesting, and I'm glad that these are recorded so I can go back and take notes. Do a little bit of
It will live on YouTube for life. Or
scary. That is quite
well,
scary.
until I decide to take it down. But I don't have any plans to. Um, yeah. Well,
Okay.
tomorrow we will talk about what's tomorrow's? Oh, the end result. So that's something you can kind of start, even if you don't look at the workbook before the live tomorrow, that's something you can start thinking about is end result, particularly of using your offer. So, and we'll talk, I'll have more questions and things like that. I'll have a workbook for you tomorrow as well. Anyone who is watching this live on YouTube, if you have questions that you want answered, if you are struggling to kind of pull those messaging ideas out of your brain, you are welcome to drop them in the comments and I will do what I can to help you talk through them there. But also, I again have dropped the link to the challenge in the chat. I will go as soon as this is done and add it to the description so that you can sign up for the challenge and get the rest of the week's workbooks and also the ability to join live. Be brave like Wendy tomorrow and actually hop on Zoom and we can chat it through and yeah, talk about those different pain points that you're struggling with and where you feel like you're not able to connect the dots with your messaging. So, Wendy, thank you for being here. I appreciate
Thank you,
your being
Amanda.
brave. Right, and
Talk
I will
soon.
see everyone tomorrow.